Okay, so welcome to Pages. Welcome to Pages. You made it. Finally, we're here, right? So we're gonna take this piece by piece and just walk you through some things that I think are important to note at the very beginning. Uh, Obviously, we want to get right to it and we want to start typing and getting our document ready, but there's some things that we should take some time to look at before we go further. All right, so up here, just to show you this part right up here, this is your toolbar, and this is where you're going to find, you guessed it, your tools, okay? On the left-hand side, you're going to have different views. So if you click here, you're going to be able to see things like the pages, thumbnails. So as you're creating your document, you're going to have multiple pages, and you'll be able to jump from page to page just by looking at your pages off on the left-hand side. So you have a view for your pages. You also have a table of contents view if you want to see it according to the table of contents. You have a document only, which closes the view. Then you have things like show, find, and replace, and really helpful rulers, right? So if you want to see your rulers, kind of want to see where you're at on the page, you want to show that. You could also hide the rulers. You can hide comments if you want. You can hide smart annotations, and we'll talk about these a little later on. And you could even show word count. So if you want to show the word count, you'll click right there. Down at the bottom, you'll see your word count, and you'll just see how this works. So this is how the word count works. And there we go, 7 words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's right, look at that. So you can see your word count. That's really helpful as you're writing maybe essays or having to write papers for school, things like that. You also have a zoom. So maybe you want to zoom in some more. You can go up to 400 width. So that's helpful if you need that. You could also go way down, right? If you want to just see the full page all in one shot. Some really helpful features here, fit width, will just take it to the full width so that you can see what you're writing. You could also do fit page so that you see the entire page all in one shot. I'm going to eliminate the word count here for just a moment, and there you go. So you can see the entire page, and it opens it up exactly to where you need it. So it recognizes the screen size and everything and just opens it up to where you need it. As you're going along, you may have the need to add pages, right? So this is where you would add a page to your document. And again, we'll revisit some of these things later on. But this really has to do with overall kind of viewing, things that you can see with your document, things that have to do with the overall nature of your documents. All right, here on the side we have a couple of buttons. So we're going to start with the insert button, and this button just takes you to some things that you may need to insert in your document. Things like your page break, line break, section breaks, column breaks, page numbers, things like that that you may need to insert. This button right here brings you to tables. So if you need to add a table to your document, you can add a table by simply clicking on it. It brings the table in, and then you're able to add to the table there, right? So I'm gonna just click there and delete for now. Then you have your charts. So this, again, very similar to numbers. We'll talk more about charts later. It's interesting because you can actually do a lot of what you would need to do in numbers, you can do right within pages. And you'll see as we go along, once you know one of these applications, it's almost as if you know them all because they all have the same layout, which is really smart of Apple to do, because once you know pages, you pretty much know numbers and Keynote. You'll see that in just a moment. But charts, of course, this is not going to be as in depth as numbers will be, but definitely really helpful. Then you have text. So if you wanted to add a text box, for example, that's what you would do. And we'll talk about the differences between inline text, if you will, here, and then text boxes that you can add. After that, you have things like shapes. So if you wanted to add a particular shape to your document, you can do that as well. And you even have some shapes that they prepare for you here in advance. Now, the nice thing about these is that you can easily change their colors to these icons. So let's say this art one here, let's say I want to use that. So it's nice, right? I have it there, but let's say I wanted to change the color. I can go here and just change it to red or change it to, any color that would work best for my document. So I'll just delete that for now, but you do have shapes. Then you have media, and this is where you can add some of your own photos, photos from your image gallery. You could also add movies and music. Now, to be honest with you, I've never really quite understood how you can add a movie to a document. But there's got to be a reason, I'm sure, and maybe we'll discover it throughout this course. But for printed documents, obviously, that wouldn't make much sense. Maybe if it's a PDF, I could see a movie or music or recorded audio being a part of that. Okay, so we go there, and then we have things like comments as well. So from time to time, you may want to make a comment on something that you don't necessarily want it to be a part of your document. But here, if I wanted to add a comment here like, I really need to finish this sentence, right? And now I've added that. Okay, great. And now I have that comment there. By the way, if I go to view and I show my comments pane, here we go. I am able to see my comments there as well. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. So you have that. You can also collaborate with other people as you're sharing this document. So we're not going to do that right now, but if you're through iCloud, you can share this document so that other people can write and add or even add comments to your document as well. You also have your formatting and your documents. So these are kind of dynamic, right? So formatting right now, because I am texting or writing words, and this has to do with what I'm doing. But you'll notice if I grab the shape, notice how this changes now, and now it becomes relevant to the shape that I'm working in. Again, if I click on the words, you'll see this goes back to text. If I click on the shape, now it wants me to change styles and things of that nature. So it's very dynamic depending on what you're working on. So this has to do with the formatting. This text, by the way, here has to do with text inside of here. So I can double click and call this, let's see here, maybe this is not the best shape to try it with, but let's see something like just a basic, here we go. Okay, this is awesome. Okay, there we go. So this is awesome. And now this is referring to the text inside of this box. So I can do things like increase the font size. I can change the font if I wanted to and do things like that. I should select it first. So I can select it and then I can change the font. So there we go. We can do things like that. And again, this is referring to the text inside, not necessarily this text out here. And again, it's just dynamic to whatever you're working on. So this has to do with the formatting. You can turn this off and see more of your document if you need to, but normally people will leave it on. And then overall, this has to do with your document. So here you're going to see things like your header, your footer, how do you want those margins, right? So right now we have a 1-inch margin, and this has to do with the overall document that you're working on. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that yes, you do have these tools right up here in the center, but you can customize this. So if you hold down Control and click, you'll be able to see whether I'm going to see the icon and text, or I can see maybe just the icons. I don't need the text. Or I can customize my toolbar as well. So maybe there's some other things in here that you say, man, I'd really like to have those options right in my toolbar. You can have those options right at your toolbar. And if you ever get to the place where maybe you eliminate or you take some things out of your toolbar like this, maybe you start having some fun, and before you know it, you hit done and you're like, oh my gosh, where are my tools and how do I get them back? Well, if you click Control and do Customize Toolbar, you can always just drag this back up and it just brings you the default. But I'll show you a couple other things that are really cool here. So something that I tend to use a lot is something called Instant Alpha, and I'll show you what that's about a little later on. But right now, if I wanted to, I can just add this to my toolbar. And now Instant Alpha is a part of my toolbar, or maybe a mask. And now I just hit done, and those are just parts of my toolbar now. So you can do that. You can remove things from your toolbar if you wanted to, or you can bring back. And if you're ever at a situation where you lost it all and you don't know what's going on and you want everything the way it used to be, just go ahead and put this right back up and it will just reformat everything. So that's pretty much the basic layout of the LAN here, if you will. And next, we're going to be going in a little deeper and talking about different types of documents. See you in the next module.